Today, we're going to be looking at the life and teachings of Ramana Maharshi. Now, he was a pretty influential Indian sage. And I know a lot of our listeners are interested in self-discovery and happiness and, things like that. And trust me, his story is full of all that. But get this. His journey to enlightenment actually all started with a death experience that he had as a teenager.
Okay.
And I know what you're thinking, but it wasn't a near-death experience like you're probably imagining. It was something a lot more psychological.
Yeah, it really is a fascinating beginning to his story. So picture this. Venkataraman, just a normal 17-year-old kid, suddenly is overwhelmed by this intense fear of death. And it just came out of nowhere. There was no illness or no event or anything that triggered it. Just boom, fear.
Okay, see, that's already got me interested. Because I don't know about you, but most teenagers that I know are worried about who they have a crush on or what's going on their phones, not facing their own mortality,
Yeah.
So what happened next? Did he hide under the covers?
He did not. Instead of being crippled by this fear, he decided the best way to deal with it was to tackle it head on. He basically thought to himself, if I'm so afraid of dying, I'm just going to die now and see what happens.
Well, hold on. What do you mean die now? Did he fake his own death or something?
Well, it was more like he went on this deep exploration of his own mortality. He would lie down, hold his breath. He even would make his body stiff like rigor mortis. He kind of systematically died to each part of his physical being one by one.
You said it was psychological, but that sounds pretty physical to me. Honestly, I can't even imagine having that kind of courage at 17 or even now. So what did he discover by doing this? I mean, what did he get out of this self-experiment?
Well, what came out of it was this really profound realization, the I, the sense of self that exists beyond your physical body. So he realized that even though his body might die, the essence of his I wouldn't. It was like he was able to separate his consciousness from this fear of his body dying. Pretty radical for just a teenager, right?
Totally. I mean, it's like he skipped over this huge existential crisis that most of us spend years, if not decades, struggling with. So this death experience, this was like Venkataraman's awakening. This is the moment that he became Ramana Maharshi.
Exactly, yeah. This experience was so powerful that he actually completely renounced everything. His family, all his possessions, everything. He walked away and embraced the simple life at the base of Arunachala. Arunachala is a mountain that he considered sacred.
That's incredible. And actually, I was reading that Arunachala, it plays a pretty significant role in his teachings, right? It wasn't just some random mountain that he decided to go hang out at.
Absolutely not. Ramana Maharshi believed that Arunachala was like a physical manifestation of the divine. He even practiced pradakshina. Pradakshina is the act of walking all the way around the mountain as this spiritual practice. It's about going inward, circling back to your true self, which is really a core concept in his teachings.
So even his choice of location was deliberate.
Yep.
It was a reflection of his internal journey.
I'm sensing a bit of a theme here, but here's the thing. I thought that he didn't even consider himself a guru. So how did he end up with all these devotees if he wasn't actively looking for followers?
Well, that's the interesting part. He never actually said that he was a guru or that he had all the answers or anything. But his experience, this really profound experience that he had and just the way that he lived really attracted people who were looking for wisdom and knowledge. They came for his darshan. Darshan is basically the act of just being the presence of a holy person.
Yeah.
And, in Indian spirituality, that's a huge thing.
Just being around him was considered like a teaching.
That's wild. It really makes you wonder, what kind of energy he must have had. I mean, do you think silence itself can be a teaching? Or was there something more to it than that?
That's a great question, and it really gets at the heart of his teachings. You see, Ramana Maharshi believed that true wisdom, it doesn't come from, external teachings or gurus. It comes from within. His central teaching is self-inquiry. It basically invites us to ask ourselves one simple but super profound question. Who am I? And it's a question that, it sounds simple at first, but it can actually lead to some really deep exploration.
Yeah, it's not like you can just answer with your name and then you're done, right? But this whole self-inquiry thing, what does that actually look like in practice?
You've hit on a really crucial point. It's not really about coming up with some kind of intellectual answer or anything. It's more about a direct experience, a deep dive into your own being, Ramana Maharshi, he really emphasized this process of elimination. You have to figure out what you are not in order to arrive at what you actually are.
So it's kind of like peeling away all the layers of identity that we build up over time.
Yeah.
Like our jobs, our relationships, even our thoughts and emotions.
Exactly. We tend to get so caught up in all of those things. We think that's what defines us.
Right.
But Ramana Maharshi suggests that all of that stuff is actually temporary, fleeting. The true self, he said, is unchanging. It's eternal.
That actually connects back to his whole death experience, right?
Yeah.
If the true self exists beyond the body, then death is just kind of like
Yeah.
shedding your physical form.
Yeah, that's a really powerful way to look at it. And it's a key takeaway from his teachings. Death isn't something to be afraid of. It's just a natural part of life. What really survives is that essence of who you are?
Yeah, it's definitely a liberating perspective, but it also kind of makes you wonder, if we're not our bodies, we're not our thoughts, then how are we supposed to act in life? Does it even matter?
Well, Ramana Maharshi's answer to that is to act without egoity. It means doing things without being attached to the I, to the ego.
So like becoming an instrument,
Yeah.
acting without like a personal agenda or without wanting anything for yourself. I mean, that just sounds impossible, especially like in today's world.
You've got it. And here's the amazing thing. Ramana Maharshi said that when we act this way, all will appear as of the nature of Siva, God.
Wow, that's a pretty big statement. But I'm curious, how did he actually like live out this philosophy in his own life? Did people see him as like this detached superhuman figure?
Not at all. Actually, he was known for being really simple and humble. He wasn't about preaching or standing on a pedestal or anything like that. Even when he was facing a terminal illness, he still continued to give darshan to the people who came looking for his wisdom.
It's like he didn't just talk about his teachings, he lived them,
Yeah.
and that consistency, I think, really makes his message even more compelling. It's not just some philosophy, it was a lived experience.
Exactly. And that's why I think his story resonates with so many people. It really makes you think, what would it have been like to be in his presence, to feel that stillness and wisdom firsthand?
Yeah, no, I imagine this incredibly peaceful, almost magnetic presence. But let's be real. Most of us can't just drop everything and go live on a mountain to find that kind of peace. So what can we do, in our daily lives to tap into what Ramana Maharshi was talking about?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's definitely something we should all be asking ourselves. If true happiness is our very nature, like Ramana Maharshi said, then what's stopping us from experiencing it?
Yeah, it really is the big question. It's just so easy to get caught up in everything going on, the daily grind and to-do lists and all the noise. It's like all that just drowns out any inner stillness.
Ramana Maharshi really talked a lot about that. He believed that true happiness isn't something that you achieve. It's something that's already there. You just have to uncover it. It's already within you, just waiting.
But it's like we bury it, don't we? With all our, conditioning and societal expectations and all those limiting beliefs we pick up.
And his teachings provide a way to kind of peel back all those layers, to return to that natural state of peace and joy. And it starts with that simple question, who am I?
I think what I like most about his approach is that he never said, I have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted people to find their own truth, through that self-inquiry. It wasn't about following a guru. It was about becoming your own guide.
I agree. It's like he was more of a beacon, pointing you towards the wisdom that's already within you.
And he did it also gracefully and humbly, never wanting the fame or recognition. But his teachings are still so relevant all over the world. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, his life really shows how powerful self-inquiry can be. By asking yourself, who am I? You can start to break down that illusion of a separate self and start to experience the unity that connects everything. It's a hard concept to grasp, but definitely one worth exploring.
It sounds like it takes a lot of courage to be honest with yourself and to let go of those old patterns and beliefs holding you back. I mean, is this kind of peace achievable for everyone, or is it just for super spiritual people?
Ramana Maharshi truly believed that everyone can find this peace, and it's so worth it. When you dig deeper into your true nature, you tap into this incredible source of peace and joy and love. And it was there all along.
It's like coming home to yourself after a long journey, right? It's finally finding that sense of belonging that you've been looking for everywhere else.
Exactly. I mean, isn't that what we all want? To find that peace, experience joy, and live a meaningful life.
It sounds like Ramana Maharshi's teachings offer a guide to get there. They show us how to look inward, question what we think we know, and just embrace who we really are. It's a message that is so relevant, even now.
It's timeless wisdom. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the life and teachings of Ramana Maharshi, we want to leave you with this final thought.
If the self is our true nature and happiness is our birthright, then what can we do today to align ourselves with that?
Ask yourself, what one small thing can you do to become more aware, to quiet your mind, to feel even just a tiny bit of that inner peace? Those are questions worth thinking about.
We really encourage you to keep exploring those questions and learn more about Ramana Maharshi's teachings and just embark on your own journey of self-discovery. And always remember, even the longest journey starts with just one step.
And you might be surprised what you find along the way. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.